So in this video, I'm going to share my tier list of the best class to easily destroy Uber Lilith in Season 4. I'll also show you the gameplay of each class easily beating Uber Lilith and explain why they are ranked that way. Now I do have the build guides of every class I am showing in this video in the description below. So definitely check out the different build guides if you're having trouble beating Uber Lilith. Okay, so here's the tier list of the easiest class to beat Uber Lilith. Now for each class, I'm ranking them using the meta builds. So in S tier, I have the Sorcerer, but it's only the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer build. The other Sorcerer builds are not as strong compared to the other classes. So the other Sorcerer builds will go to D tier. In A tier, I have the Minion Necromancer. In B tier, I have the Heartseeker Rogue and the Bash Barbarian. Now personally, I believe the Rogue is slightly better than the Barbarian when it comes to beating Uber Lilith, just because the Rogue is a ranged class. So with the Rogue, you don't need to reposition to land attacks. And in C tier, I have the Windshear Druid. Okay, so next I'm going to show you gameplay of all the classes beating Uber Lilith from S tier to C tier and explain their strength and weaknesses. So let's check this out. Now in S tier, I have the Sorcerer, but it's only the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer build. With the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer, you will be completely immune to damage, making you immortal. So basically, you can skip all of Uber Lilith's mechanics and just sit there and destroy Uber Lilith. Now the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer build does require a lot of rare stats, so it is the most expensive and time-consuming build to make. You will need certain gear and stats to actually pull off this build, or this build will not work. So ideally, it's better to farm the key items and materials needed for the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer build with another build, like the Frozen Orb build. But once you build the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer, you can dominate any content with ease. Now all the other Sorcerer builds are not as strong in defeating Uber bosses compared to the other classes. So the Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer build goes to S tier, while all the other Sorcerer builds will go to D tier. Now in A tier, I have the Minion Necromancer. The Necromancer can easily one-shot Uber Lilith and has an invincibility skill, the Blood Mist skill. So with the Necromancer, you can easily destroy Uber Lilith and skip some of Uber Lilith's mechanics. Now this build does rely on your minions to do all the work, so this build can be boring for some people. But with this build, you can AFK farm mostly any content with your minions. Now you do need some rare stats with the Minion Necromancer build, so this build is somewhat expensive to make. Now in B tier, I have the Heartseeker Rogue, and the Rogue is a really strong and can easily shred Uber Lilith's life, but the Rogue doesn't have any invincibility skills, so you can't skip any of Uber Lilith's mechanics. Now the Rogue is a ranged class, so with the Rogue you can attack from any position, making it easy to destroy Uber Lilith's blood boils and minions. But the Rogue is quite squishy, so you'll need to dodge most of Uber Lilith's mechanics to survive. But overall, the Rogue is a really strong and fun class to play. Now the Heartseeker Rogue build does need some rare stats, so this build is pretty expensive to make. Now in B tier, I also have the Bash Barbarian. Now the Bash Barbarian has really high damage that can easily melt Uber Lilith. But like the Rogue, the Barbarian doesn't have any invincibility skills, so you can't skip any of Uber Lilith's mechanics. Now the Barb is a melee class, so you do have to run around and attack everything in close range, which could be difficult when evading Uber Lilith's mechanics. But because of the Barbarian's high defense and survivability, you can tank through some of Uber Lilith's mechanics. And the Bash Barbarian is one of the cheapest and easiest builds to make. And finally, in C tier, I have the Windshear Druid. Now the Druid is not as strong as the other classes when it comes to beating any Uber bosses, but the Druid does excel in defense and survivability compared to damage. So even though the Druid can beat Uber Lilith, it will take a bit longer compared to the other classes. And the Druid does not have any invincibility skills, but with high defense and survivability, the Druid can tank some of Uber Lilith's mechanics. And since the Windshear Druid build does not need a lot of rare stats, this build is pretty cheap and easy to make. Okay, so thanks for checking out my tier list of the best class to easily destroy Uber Lilith in Season 4. Now, I do have build guides of every class I am showing in this video in the description below, so definitely check them out. Hope this helps and more videos to come, so stay tuned. And of course...